Okay, folks, welcome back to the next thrilling instalment. Next up, we're going to be joined by Claire for a session on email marketing. So, Claire, are you there?
I am, yeah.
Fantastic. You don't sound very sure.
I wasn't sure. I was pressing the button, nothing was happening. Definitely, yeah, definitely. Right, I'm not yawning though.
No, that's good. That's good. We don't want anybody yawning. That's very unprofessional. Right, so I'm going to hand over to you, and I'll be back at the end of the session to the last slot before lunch on YouTube. So, Claire, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Is it morning? Yeah, it's still morning. We're still here, powering on. This morning, we are talking about email marketing, which is very powerful, in fact. And so that's why we're spending some time around it. And it's one of the things that you should be doing in your business. Yeah, we're going to go through that in more detail this morning. So what we're going to look at this morning is why we should be using email, looking at the headline. Does it matter what the headline is? Writing content, autoresponders, how to avoid the spam folder, and understanding SPF and DKIM, which helps improve email deliverability. So don't worry too much about that one. In fact, it's not about, it sounds more complicated than it is. It's not about sun cream. And increasing open rates, because that is what it's all about, getting people to open and engage and do business with you. So McKinsey did a study, and they looked at every dollar that you put into email marketing, you actually get back 40 times more than you would through any other source. So through Facebook, Instagram, and almost all the other marketing channels. And this is because you are able to build a consistent relationship, and you're not battling around with algorithms that choose who sees your content. And so it's an interesting statistic to think about, and to really put building your email list at the forefront of your strategy. But if you're going to be doing this, you need to give people value. So if you're thinking about creating an opt-in and having an email newsletter, and it's just about selling, then you are not going to build that relationship. And we were talking about relationships yesterday, but you're not going to build that relationship if you don't give them value and give them. So if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about jab, jab, right hook. And that is about, the jabbing is about giving value, giving valuable content, helping people. And then the right hook is where you ask for the sale later on. So we've all got those friends who are quite draining and always asking for things, and you don't feel like you have the best relationship with them. So it needs to be equal. And when you do have that kind of equality coming along, then you will build trust, and you will build people who want to buy from you or refer your services to others. So does the headline matter? Now, the thing about the headline is it can often be an afterthought. So you spent ages writing and crafting some amazing email or newsletter, but actually the most important point, and what you should be doing, is focusing on your email headline. And I actually did a course around email marketing back in March, and some things that came from it was about carrying around a journal, for example, and writing down things that felt like you could make them into headlines. And then when you've got these headlines, writing about 20 or 30. So getting your journal out, writing down 20 or 30 headlines, and then you can trial them. But if you just think of it as the last thing to do, then you are not going to get as many people opening your emails. And so I would say that the email headline is the most important thing, because people might not even look at the content. And if they don't look at the content and open the email, the rest of it's a waste of time. So in terms of email headlines, create a hook. So that's something that makes you click. We're going to look at some of the examples of things that will make people click. And you need to think about, what emails do you open? So if you go through your inbox, I've got about quite a lot in my inbox, about me 32,000 or something like that. 31,000 have not interested me at all. And look at the ones that you have opened, because then you can put that into your own business. So is there a promise? Is there a question that needs answering? Is there some kind of urgency? This is going to expire tonight, check it out now. And then you can go from there and put it into your own business. So here, I've got a few good headlines. So if you need some ideas, so you want a headline that is going to evoke some kind of emotional response, because like I finished yesterday's session at, it's like people want to feel a certain way. So when they're going to buy a product, like how is that product going to make them feel? Because that's what we're looking to do. We buy from emotion. And so that's super important when you are doing copywriting and trying to talk to your target audience. So you need a curiosity gap. So there's something missing from the headline. So it doesn't tell you everything, but you want to read it and go forward with it, and find out the bit that's missing from the headline. You need to appeal to their interests, their self-interests, like what's in it for you, because people really are interested in themselves and are not thinking about your business or buying anything from your business. They just want the best deal for themselves. So you can ask a question that makes it compelling to know the answer. And like I said before, just give some urgency. So this offer ends soon. So here are some of the emotions you might want to invoke, and some examples. So curiosity. So don't open this email. So if you're told not to do something, you often want to do it just because you've been told not to do it. FOMO, fear of missing out. So you're missing out on points if you collect points in your business. So you might share, like I said yesterday, about you could collect various points and then get money off for future purchases. So if that's something, you could put that into your headline. Something funny, like new vacation on Mars. Oh, that's a bit funny. Like, what do you mean going on holiday in Mars, or that kind of thing? Something funny. Vanity. So, don't miss out. Products the celebs are wearing. What products are celebs wearing? It kind of appeals to the vanity side. Greed. So a little luxury at a great price, or something around something that you can get something cheaper, that type of thing. And sloth. So make things easy. People like things if it's easy to do. So steal these email marketing tips or these templates or something like that. So there's a few headlines. Right. Click the button. Okay. So now we're going to look at writing content. So 9 out of 10 marketers use email for content distribution, which is much higher than you might think about, because so many of us are using social media, and we do need to be on social media, but do not look over the fact that email is powerful and can connect with your audience. So some tips for creating content. So like I said earlier, carry around a journal, or you can do something. There's something called Instapaper, which is an app, and you can save things. So if you're reading something, you can click on your phone and save it and send it to, say, to Evernote. You can set things up like that. So save things when you're reading them, add them to Evernote or some kind of other system that you have on your phone, and then you can create content by collecting it as you see it and then rewrite your own content from there. Look at what influencers in your niche are doing, and what content do you find engaging, because if you find it engaging, it's likely resonating with who you are and your values, and then you can go on and get ideas from there to create your own content. When you're sending your emails, personalize them. So make sure it says Dear Claire, or whoever you're writing to, obviously, but you can put in the field so it's personal. Don't use too many links or images, because that can sometimes get you into the spam folder and also can be quite distracting. So you need lots of white space, and make it so you can flick through, because when you're looking at stuff, so I was looking at a course a few months ago and I was quite interested in the course, but I still only scanned the content. So you need to have headlines and just lots of white space so people don't get too taken up, because people haven't got enough time to read everything. Consistency, as ever, is key, because consistency builds trust. So if you get people signing up to your newsletter and then you send it out week on Friday, and then 6 weeks later, and then 3 months later. People don't trust that you're going to be there for them, and they don't build up that expectation that the content's coming out. So I send out a weekly email because I have a community that I created, and we meet on Fridays, and every Wednesday I send out an email to tell them what's coming up, what happened in the week before, and it goes out at 6:30. And I set that up through my autoresponder, and I use Kajabi, which I'm going to talk about later. But that means that today at 6:30 they're expecting an email from me. And that has meant that my engagement has stayed high in my community. One of the things that's made it stay high, and people get into the rhythm because we like rituals. So that's why, in life we have rituals, Christmas, Easter, we have family rituals. And that's what connects you with your audience and with people, because people like to know where they are with things. Another thing you can put into an email is lists, like top 5 ways to save money, how to wipe your computer of all the junk that's slowing it down, something like that, or something that people are thinking, oh, that's interesting, and just do 3 points. Because sometimes we feel like we've got to go 15 points and keep giving, and that's something that I've done quite a lot in the past. It's like, oh, just keep giving them more information, but actually sometimes less is more. So do things like that. Think about your newsletter. Make it different to everybody else's. I saw something nice the other day in a newsletter, and at the bottom of the email newsletter, it said, what was the expression? They had 3 links at the bottom, but they didn't say where the links were going. So it was like a lucky dip, I think they called it, or something like that. So it was a lucky dip on the links. And so you're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder where that link's going to take me. And so you clicked on it and saw, and you didn't know where you're going, which is an element of surprise. It's curiosity again, those kind of things. So there's a couple of tips. So autoresponders. Hopefully you all know what autoresponders are, but basically they send out emails, which you can do beforehand. You can pre-program it. So if someone opts into your newsletter on your website, they will automatically get a welcome email, for example. Or you might have it set up for when someone purchases something happens, and they receive maybe an offer to some other product of yours. So autoresponders are also a way to nurture your customers. So you can set up in advance several emails which take people through a process. Maybe they tell you a story. Maybe along that story you can upsell other products. And like yesterday we were talking about reviews. We can build this into the emails that go out, ask for reviews, and get people to just start engaging with your brand in different ways. And we're not always asking for the sale, because people will get to know you and get to trust you, and then they will want to buy from you. So that is one of the great things about building relationships. So here are some examples of autoresponders. You can just Google different ones, see which one feels like you might like to use it. Trial them over the years. I've tried all kinds of different ones, starting with Simon recommended years ago, Marketer's Choice, I think it was called. I don't know if it changed its name after that, but that was years ago. I tried MailChimp. There's getresponse.com. So on these kind of packages, you can do your emails through them, but you can also create landing pages. So the page that people come to opt into your list, say, or buy one of your products, can be called a landing page. So you can do that through this software, go through marketing, conversions, help you go through the whole process to make it seamless, and conversion funnels. So that's where it takes you through. So maybe someone downloads something from your list, and then there's an upsell for something else, which is a bit of a higher price point, that kind of thing. So you can set those up through something like getresponse.com. MailChimp is what I used, as I mentioned. It's a free plan for the first 2,000 subscribers. So just get going. Sometimes and often it's so much better to take messy action and rather than take no action, because if you're just thinking all the time, so things you're learning today, if you take 1 point from today's presentation from me and 1 from the previous one, you will make a lot more headway than just thinking about it. So, and that's what I've learned a lot over the years. Like, try it. You know, the more times you fail, the more times that you've tried something. Whereas you never fail if you just think about it, and that's not actually the point of it. So failure is to be embraced. And you know, I've seen lots of things be put out and not, you know, haven't worked, but then you can move on. But without trialing it, you'll never know. So MailChimp, you can also build your website on. And Kajabi. Now, Kajabi is what the Internet Business School used to house their products, and we trialed lots of things back in the day. We've been on it for quite lots of years now. I also use this personally in my business. It collects recurring payments. So, for example, with the membership site, it collects payments on there. It does something called pipelines, and that means you can press a couple of buttons and it sets out. So say you wanted people to sign up to an online webinar, it has it all set out, and you just have to fill it in with your content. So it will create the emails that need to go out, it will create the landing pages, it will create the checkout page. So all you have to do is like plug and play. I don't know if that's the right expression, but that kind of thing. So it's really good like that. You can have your website on there as well, create digital products and landing pages. So yeah, that's a really great platform for everything. It's probably more expensive than some of the other ones, but it does have everything on there. And they've got a really great community on there, and you get a lot of support if you need help with your product. So Kajabi would be my recommendation, but you need to look at where you are in your business. So this is what we all want to do. We all want to avoid the spam folder, because if you're in the spam folder, you are not going to be seen, and you might get blacklisted. So if you have done things, for example, like buy lists, and you can get blacklisted because it might not have up-to-date email addresses on that list. You don't know if people are given permission to use the email on that list. And so you want to make sure that you are doing things like, for example, so a double opt-in. So that's where you sign up for something and then it says, please go to your email to confirm registration. And so that's called a double opt-in. So in that scenario, you know that you have got permission from the person because they've had to type in their email, then go to their email list, and then open your email and then opt in. So make sure you always ask for permission before you send people stuff. Otherwise, you might get blacklisted. And if they click the button in your email provider saying spam, then you will be blacklisted. So senderscore.org is like a creditworthiness website, but for your email. So you can go on there and get your score, see if you are blocked, or see if you see how your email is showing up. So you can use that resource, which is handy. So spam traps. So a spam trap is basically something that can be set up by sort of like the internet police, who can do things. For example, they can put out email lists that are fake, or which actually don't have a person attached to them. And so then if somebody buys a list and it's got fake emails on, then the ISP provider knows that that was not collected lawfully, because they know that they put it out there as bait. So if you do fall into them, you can be blacklisted. However, the other issue is sometimes, when you're asked to sign up and you say, oh gosh, something else, so you put in a different name and you spell it incorrectly. Again, that could mean that you get blacklisted. So that's why things like the double opt-in really do help and stop you falling into these spam traps. And also sometimes people stop using email addresses, and so again you could end up in a blacklist. So what you want to do is look at your autoresponder and see, regularly remove the ones that bounce, or just clean it up, because actually from an ego point of view, oh wow, I've got 2,000 on my list or 20,000 on my list, but the long and short of it is you may have 20,000 on, which is good to say to people, I've got 20,000, but if 15,000 aren't opening them and aren't engaging, then they're a waste of time. Whereas if you nurture the 5,000, then you can get more from nurturing a small amount of people. So have a look at that to avoid spam traps. So SPF and DKIM are something to be aware of. And they're all around authentication. So to make sure that you set up your email authentication, or I can't say it, authentication. I don't know, it doesn't sound quite right, does it? On your account. So you need to make sure these things are operational on your email accounts. So SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. So it helps servers verify that messages are coming from a particular domain, so which are authorized. So if I sent something from Claire Perry Louise and it's claire@claireperrylouise.com, then this makes sure that it's coming from me and that somebody's not pretending to be me and using my domain. And DKIM, I keep wanting to say DKYN, that's that clothing brand, isn't it? But DKIM is short for Domain Keys Identified Mail. So this is about adding a digital signature to every message. And so it lets receiving servers, so that when you send it out, the servers realize that it's not a forged message, and then they accept it rather than send it to spam. So these can be set up easily. Check that they're already in place, probably are if you're using general email providers. But if you need some more help, you can just Google it, email authentication, your email host. So that's that. Right, now let's have a little look at increasing open rates. So the average open rates for all industries is 21.33%, and MailChimp did a survey, so it's not super high. And if you check what your open rates are for your business, if they're on the low side, and you can use that figure as a benchmark, you might take some time to look at these 3 points. Okay, so maybe it's a poor or irrelevant subject line, or it's uninteresting, so people have got no reason to open it. The second thing is it might be untargeted, so you might need to segment your audience. So certain products might be more appropriate for people who have looked, maybe somebody's been in your bought one of your products, and now it's appropriate to upsell them to a new product. So, but you need to make sure that the people who are receiving the email are the people who've used the first product, because otherwise it might not be appropriate to upsell them. So unless you are targeting emails just to that section of your list, you may get either people putting it into your spam folder, or they might not open it at all. So look at segmenting your audience for what you're trying to sell or who you're trying to speak to. So people who, if someone's bought your product and they've bought a jacket, and later on you're trying to sell some protector for the jacket, obviously you want to send that protector out to the people who purchased the jacket and not the whole list, because it's not relevant to people who are still in that process of getting to know you and thinking about buying the jacket. The other thing is, like I mentioned earlier, is the lack of consistency. So if you're not consistent, people don't expect your emails, and so they don't open them. And they might open them, but they're not looking forward to them, and they're not sitting there and waiting for them. And that applies to everything, not just email, just how you show up on social, how you launch your podcast, everything like that. So here's a few tips for increasing your open rates. So you can split test your headlines. So try different headlines. Like I said, if you've got a list of 25 to 30 different headlines, why not trial them and see which ones get open? You can also send them at different times and see if you get more open rates then. But once you try a time, and if people are opening it, then be consistent with that time and keep that communication schedule regular. Delete contacts who never open your emails. And for example, if someone signed up for something from you and then they don't engage with you in the first couple of weeks, they're probably not going to engage with you. And you're probably best just to remove them. Or you could do something like write an email to them saying, hi, we've seen that you haven't opened any emails. Are you still interested in our products, etc., etc.? And engage like that. Keep your email short and to the point. People haven't got time to read loads of ramblings, so make them interesting and short. And you can look at your competitors as well. So don't copy people, because it's best to be yourself and be authentically you, as opposed to try and mimic somebody else, because it never really works, because it doesn't really, people can feel it. So, however, do use your competitors' emails for a point of reference, like what are they doing? Because it can always spark something in you. You think, oh, that's interesting. I'll try and do that in my emails. These are quite interesting. So there is a service which you can sign up to at emaildrips.com, and you can get access to sales copy that has worked for other companies. So that could be a good point of reference, and you can sign up there and have a look. And like I said, use segmentation to target your emails. So make sure they're specific, and the autoresponder obviously works with this, because it will send out timely emails depending on where people are in the journey with you. So whether they've just opted in, or whether they've just bought their first product, or whatever it might be, whatever's appropriate for your business. And encourage replies to emails. So maybe do, ask for a reply, like, what do you think to this? And then you can start, especially in the early days, get some kind of engagement around it. So yeah, just be different. Don't be like everybody else. Just be a weirdo, so to speak. And remember that everything that you do, if you measure it, then you can improve it. And this is the same for everything, because quite often we do things, or we don't set ourselves deadlines, and we don't measure what's open and what isn't opened. And if you don't measure it, you don't know what you need to improve, and you can't see. So you just carry on blindly doing what you've always done. And if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get the same results. So measure it, split test, and just think outside the box, because that's the best place to be. So hopefully that was good, and you got some information from that, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Claire, for that.